Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss about one of the first schools of psychology, which is known as structuralism. So before knowing what structuralism actually is, we have to understand what is the meaning of psychology. So we'll first understand the meaning of psychology. So since its inception as an independent field of study, the meaning changed from time to time. Firstly, it was known as study of soul. Then it was changed into study of mind, and then it was changed into study of consciousness, and finally it was changed into study of behavior. So the school of psychology that we'll be talking about, structuralism, follow is based on the principle of study of consciousness. Okay, so this gentleman right here, his name is Wilhelm Wundt. So he is known as the father of structuralism. So he was basically not a psychologist in the very beginning. He was a student of medicine, and later he became a professor of physiology. And then he was inspired by the works of Weber and Faulkner. And he what did he do? What are his contribution? He accepted the Spinozian idea of psychophysical parallelism. So what is this Spinozian idea of psychophysical parallelism? According to this theory, every physical event has a mental counterpart and vice versa. So for every physical action that we do, like picking up a bottle, picking up anything, or simply walking, for performing this physical activity, there will be a mental counterpart that will be instructing how we shall do this thing, what will be the outcome, how effectively or how efficiently can we do this. So this Spinoza idea of psychophysical parallelism tells about this. And accordingly, for every mental counterpart there will be a physical event. Okay, so this physical event complements this mental counterpart and vice versa. Then this gentleman right here, he is known as Gustav Faulkner. So earlier we mentioned about Gustav Faulkner, and Wilhelm Wundt was highly inspired by him. So what he did, he studied sensory perception by manipulating stimuli. So what is stimuli? Stimuli is basically any change in the surrounding environment that elicits a response. Now this response can be positive or negative depending upon the type of stimuli that was given. Okay, so what he did, he studied the perception, sensory perception of various different subjects by manipulating various different types of stimuli, and he noted down what were their perceptions. So won't believe that availability of measurable stimuli could make psychological events open to something like experimental methodology. Okay, so won't believe that if we give a set of measurable. What do you mean by measurable? Measurable basically means that the stimuli are already pre-calculated, like their outcomes are like kind of like presumed earlier. Okay, so if we give those measurable stimuli to the subject, we'll be able to read their minds. Will be not minds, basically, like we'll we can read what they'll perceive, what emotions, what feelings, how they'll think about that stimuli. Not stimuli, as a result of the stimuli, there will be some reactions. So how he will react to different type of stimuli we can study. So this is kind of like an experimental methodology. So this method developed by Wundt was kind of like experimental introspection. Introspection basically means careful observation of oneself. Okay, and then this gentleman right here, he was also an exponent of structuralism in America. He is known as E.B. Tickner. He told that all those observable actions that we observed in the lab, we can perform this under external environmental condition. So this will be much more realistic, and we can relate to it in a better way. So according to him, perceptions, emotions, and ideas could be studied through introspection. So if we perform introspection on our subjects, we can easily study their perceptions, emotions, and ideas. And he also believed that no concrete mental process, no idea of feeling that we actually experience as a part of consciousness is a simple process, but all alike are made up of number of really simple processes blended together. So basically he believes that the concrete mental processes that we actually experience, like those complex mental events. Okay, so these are not just a simple process, but they are made up of a number of small but really simple processes combined together. So all these small simple processes combine together and form a structure, and this structure is finally known as the concrete mental process. Okay, so he believed that. And so what structuralism aims? So structuralism aims at description and analysis of the structure of consciousness by adopting introspection as the main technique. Okay, so what is the aim of structuralism? So structuralism basically aims in like studying or just knowing the structure or the composition, like how these complex mental processes are formed. Okay, so like for example, let's take an example of a person, like he is feeling sad. So aim of structuralism is to know about the reasons why he is sad. What are the smaller events that are adding up, and these are resulting in the sadness of that person. Okay, so this is the main aim of structuralism. The name suggests that structure, it talks about some kind of structure in a building. While forming the building, we use various different kinds of bricks, cement, and rods, the TMT bars. We combine all of them together to make a building. So likewise, if we have to know the constituents of the main elements of that building, the smaller elements of that building, we have to go and identify what kind of bricks were used, what cement, what TMT bars were used. So structuralism is kind of similar. The main aim of structuralism is to understand how that event is formed, what is the structure, how it is designed, why, what are the different different type of designs that resulted in the formation of that complex mental event. Okay, so what are the contribution of structuralism to education? Structure, so is the due to structuralism, the psychology was separated from philosophy and metaphysics, and it was developed as an independent and organized discipline. So it's a very big contribution. So structuralism emphasized on the systematic behavior of activities of the learner under controlled conditions. Thirdly, structuralism was the first to develop experimental method for studying human behavior. And finally, structuralism initiated a spirit of science and experimentation in the field of education. Earlier, the contribution of science and experimentation in the field of education was not that much. So, structuralism initiated a spirit. Then, now let's talk about the limitations. Since nothing can be so perfect, there will be some or other limitations. Okay, so the main limitation of the first limitation of structuralism is experimental introspection method is quite unreliable, limiting, and very subjective. Like it can it can be different since each and every person's thinking is different. So the method of introspection, or the way how a person introspects himself herself, is very much subjective, and it's limiting. The method of experimental introspection can't be applied to each and every human being out there. Okay, and it's not quite reliable. And structuralism was too concerned about the internal behavior, which is kind of not directly observable. Like we can't directly see or observe this internal behavior, and we can't, and as a result we can't accurately measure them. Okay, so yeah, this is the main limitation of structuralism. It cannot be employed to study the behavior of children, mentally retarded person, and insane human being and animals, since they can't describe themselves properly in a proper manner. So we can't study their behavior. So it is the main limitation of structuralism. Okay. So finally, I'll conclude my presentation with it. Thank you.